Hi everyone, my name is Jenn Pretti. I'm a UX lead at Verily, and I'm really excited to be here as part of Founder Fridays. Today I'm going to be talking about getting started with UX. UX can be the last thing to catch the attention of entrepreneurs. However, it's the first thing that users notice. And that's because bad UX is easy to spot, leading to errors, confusion, frustration, and loss of trust. So let's start by defining what is user experience. And here's one of my favorite definitions. User experience refers to the singular and accumulated experiences that occur for users as a consequence of them interacting with an object or service in a given context. Let's break that down. First, users. Users contribute significantly to their own UX in that their experiences are subjective and depend on a range of things like their expectations for that object, their needs, their motivation, predispositions, their mood. Based on the sum total of these things, their experience can vary. Next, context. Context matters. This is the situation in which the interaction occurred. It can include things like time, location, culture, environmental variables like sound and lighting conditions. These, among other things, can impact the user experience in varying degrees. And lastly, UX refers to both the set of experiences that occur across a user's entire journey, interacting with a company, its services, and its products. Consideration of this end-to-end journey is imperative to drive frictionless and trustworthy experiences that flow from beginning to end and across surfaces. So let's see how we can put this definition into practice. Here is an example. Hospitals can be a scary place, especially for children, and more particularly for those who come in to get an MRI scan. Hospitals were seeing that they needed to sedate 80 to 95% of young patients, adding unnecessary risk and fear. Industrial designer Doug Dietz, who worked at GE on machines like this, happened to witness firsthand a traumatized young patient and took that to heart. He went back to his team and applied design thinking principles to the redesign of an MRI scanner and came up with the idea of thematic adventure environments that excited kids rather than caused them fear. So here he was thinking very specifically about the users, the children. He also thought about the context. He didn't just redesign the machine, but the environment and the room in which they were located by including things like calming decorations and aromatherapy. He also was mindful of the accumulated experiences, even making sure the way in which the technicians interacted with the children was in keeping with this theme. The redesign was incredibly successful. Hospitals went from sedating 80 to 95% of children to just 1% in the first year. So that's a great segue for our next topic, which is why does good UX matter? There are many reasons for investing in UX. I'll cover 6. First, the right problem. Designers can help a team find and focus on the right problem to be solved. Consider these stats. 8 out of 10 entrepreneurs who start a business fail within the first 18 months. And the main reason for these failures is that there isn't a product market fit. To put it plainly, the product or service isn't solving a core problem for which people will pay. With UX, you can help identify and solve the right problems in the right way. Next, first impressions. They do matter. Google has done studies to show that it only takes 17 milliseconds for people to form a first impression. In this time, they're thinking, is this thing trustworthy? Would I do business here? Is it useful and usable? You may only have one shot to make that first impression, and having the right design and the right experience right away can boost your success in getting that right first impression. Next, differentiation. Many things these days are similar. There is something called an attractiveness bias that says when consumers are faced with similar things, they will more likely go with the one they either recognize or that has the better design. So good UX is key in helping you differentiate. Next is brand. Your product or service should support the principles you've built your product around. Branding can inform UX, and UX can define branding. They should work together to engage and delight customers and build trust. And finally, the big ones. Design plays a key role in customer engagement and retention, which correlates to sales. According to a study by McKinsey, design-focused startups consistently bring in 32% more revenue and 50% higher total returns to shareholders compared with companies who do not. So how can you get started with UX? Here are some tips. First, start listening. As Larry Page has said, there is no substitute for personally watching and listening to real people. This is why at Google, there is the core value of focus on the user and all else will follow. So by this, I mean, establish empathy. As we've said, each person has their own perspective and expectations. So by taking the time to establish empathy and by digging into those stories and insights and emotions, you can increase the likelihood that you'll build the right product and elicit the right experience. But make sure you're talking to the set of people who are uniquely impacted by the problem you're trying to solve and get to know what differentiates them from the people who don't need this problem fixed. User research offers a huge toolkit of methods to establish empathy and learn about your users. And great news, there are many low-cost tools out there that you can use. For example, Google has the consumer surveys platform, which is a great way of getting quick and low-cost surveys done with a large reach. Tip number 2, fall in love with the problem, not the solution. At startups, the mentality can sometimes be about the features and getting the technology right. People often develop a personal connection to their ideas and inherently want them to be a successful solution. But let's flip that around and make it more important to focus on the problems than the ideas. So first, take the time to write down the problem. Make sure it's driven by insights that come from an understanding of your target audience. And then try things out, learn and iterate. By creating an environment that encourages learning, testing, and iterating of ideas with users, you can boost the odds of creating breakthrough products and services while simultaneously reducing the risk of big, costly misses. Tip number 3, invest in establishing US best practices. Establishing design processes can help align teams and ensure that your products are consistently solving user problems in a way that elicits the right experience. At Google, as I said, we have this core value of focusing on the user. And to that end, we follow the design thinking approach shown here, which is established from the best of various other approaches like Lean, Agile, and Six Sigma. It is a thought process for innovation. By adopting a design thinking approach like this, you can provide your startup with a framework that is useful even if you don't have a ton of resources available to you. As you're thinking about design process, also consider taking some basic, simple steps towards establishing and developing key UX artifacts. For example, personas can be a great way to capture user needs and requirements. User journeys can help you map end-to-end scenarios of use. Design principles can help you determine how to approach and critique design. And establishing and validating information architecture and a design system can help you lay the foundation of consistent and easy to use and learn products. Tip number 4, think of UX being for everyone. It shouldn't just be one person or one team's job. It's very important to nurture a culture whereby teams collectively have accountability for improving the user experience. When an entire organization is focused on the needs of the user and the value their product delivers, better products are brought to market. So one way you could do this is by inviting cross-functional stakeholders to review and analyze those great research findings you collected when you were establishing empathy. Or perhaps you could have regular show and tells or demo days where teams share their latest work across the company. This can be really valuable in keeping everyone in the loop, gathering internal feedback, and making sure that different functions are talking and aligning. And last, bring in an expert. Another way to seek success is hiring out in areas in which you are not the expert. User research and user experience design are complex and nuanced disciplines that can add exponential value to your product or service. Although hiring a full time designer is ideal, as it can help foster a healthy culture within which design practices can grow and be supported, if you are on a limited budget, hiring a part time or freelance designer is a great starting point. These days, great UX is no longer the differentiator between a new startup and its more advanced competition. It's a necessity. Thank you so much for your time. I look forward to answering your questions in the live Q&A.